Hey, what's up? Zach here, and today I've got the all-new Anta KT11, and thanks to Kickzone for getting me a pair of these to check out. If you want to check out a pair for yourself, I'll leave a link in the description below, and there is a discount code. So, the KT10 obviously was a world-beating shoe. You always know it's a good shoe when you get accused of being paid by the company to do the review, and check out the comment section of that video. But here's the thing, they were fantastic, and they got #1 on my top 5 list 2 or 3 times, a couple times at least. And so typically when that happens, the next one out is always kind of a, just wonder, what did they decide to change? Most companies want to do something a little bit different in the basketball space, and sometimes that's good, sometimes that's not so good. So yeah, I got some opinions on these ones, and we'll see if you're gonna be buying KT10s or upgrading to the 11s after this review. So starting off in the uppers, one thing I do really like about the uppers is the 3 levels of the entire body of the upper. Now there's a TPU like weave on the top, fused paneling underneath that, and then another TPU weave underneath that. So it is 3 levels there, and then in the rear foot, you do have TPU caging in the back. It's got all the triangles back there, or the eagle's wings, whatever the designers were saying. And that does kind of make a quasi-external heel counter, which is really nice because it stays a little bit flexible, but you get the containment, which I really like. And it does have a actually really thick internal heel counter too. So you're getting a lot back there, which is honestly really nice. And that does incorporate all the way down into the outsole. So it cages the midsole. And what's nice about that is sometimes you'll see it stops and then it starts back up again, right? And that's to make manufacturing cheaper. Whereas this goes all the way across and down. So you're actually getting containment from this. It's not just window dressing. And that's on the medial and lateral side. That to me is #1. It's a good idea, but #2, they're not cheapening out, when they're making the shoe, which is really nice. The lace line is reinforced completely. There is a pretty large gap between the second highest and the highest lace eyelet. There is a runner's knot in these things. You don't need it. This is one of the few shoes where if it has a runner's knot, you actually don't need to use it. I had 0 heel slippage with no runner's knot, or the back eyelet, or a runner's knot, all 3. So it really doesn't matter, whatever you want to do. Less lace irritation if you just use the highest eyelet, second to laced if you use the back, and then runner's knot had the most irritation. It really wasn't that bad, it was more just pressure than irritation. The tongue is really nice and padded. It is just 2 levels of padding, but they are decently dense. There is a really nice gusset on these things, so containment of the tongue is really, really nice. Look at the breathability test, and fog does get out of the forefoot, which is shocking because you actually do get a decent amount of padding down there. I've seen some shoes recently, not a lot of padding and not a lot of breathing, or a lot of padding and no breathing, but these ones actually do have a lot of breathing capabilities all throughout the shoe. You can see that kind of comes all the way through up the uppers, and the fog was coming out really everywhere. So that to me was really, really nice. In the rear foot, the padding is just okay, but I think it's because the heel counter comes up, and the shape of the heel counter and just the way it contains, and I think it's the gap between the lace line. I think that's what's really doing it in terms of the uppers. But to me, a lighter weight feeling upper with this much containment and heel slippage prevention and breathability, I would say, yeah, for sure, home run. All right, beginning in the midsole teardown of the 11s, unlike the uppers, we have a lot going on. This is pretty simple. Top-loaded plastic shank is pretty long, although it was pretty easy to get through. It popped open pretty quick. And then just an entire bed of N2 foam, which is Anta's nitrogen-infused thermoplastic foam. Interestingly enough, on the bounce height test, I got, this is really weird, I got 40 centimeters in the rear foot average, and then 48 average in the forefoot. And I mean, there's a 0.8 centimeter drop, and previous Anta shoes with this foam setup, it does bounce higher the less of it, the more you can kind of get the ground influence on it. I just always thought that was interesting, how just the drop of it really influences what that ball bearing does. Tensiometer, it only takes 64 newtons to get this thing to 45 degrees. So actually the forefoot is a little bit more flexible. I mean, it bends appropriately, but it does bend easier. And then torsionally, the rear foot is rock solid because of this, but the forefoot does, move. It's fine. There's really nothing wrong with it. So in terms of torsional, but it is interesting how it's just a little bit more, the forefoot versus the rear foot. It's kind of like a tale of two shoes. The rear foot, rock solid. The forefoot has movement, which is, you want flexibility, but containment in the rear foot. I mean, I guess that's pretty good. So yeah, I mean, in terms of the midsole, it's basic, but like most of Anta's kind of full beds of these with the shank setup, it's effective. All right, getting into the outsole tread, this is basically an entire bed of modified herringbone. It actually is more like a concentric pattern from the K logo back here, and then it becomes herringbone. That's pretty neat. It does have wider channels in there, which you kind of need some break points up here. On the grip test ramp, initially it doesn't slip till 43 degrees, so it is pretty grippy. Thing is, put in the dust box, and it does pick up a moderate amount of dust with my one wipe horizontal and vertical method. Now, afterwards, it does slip at 31 degrees, which is no worse than any other shoe. It's just that it's a lot of difference. So you are gonna experience, a lot of seasons in these shoes, put it that way. So just make sure you're keeping these wiped down pretty good with the dust, because like I said, it grips just as well as the other shoes do, right? In terms of a higher level of grip with dust. It's just that that's a big change. That's a big chasm there between 43 and 31. So like I said, just make sure you keep them wiped down. On my new belt sander testing, these do not lose a gram. Like I said, I do have a much more sensitive scale coming. It is not here yet. It was supposed to be here a little bit ago, but shipping, weather, things like that. Once it does, I will update with the actual micrograms, right, of change in all these that I've done recently that will have it. So that will update either in the description or a pinned comment, or I'll just do a whole video on it or something like that. So I will get the actual numbers, but they do say this is more durable and everything else. This is rubber compound. And so, I mean, the durometer is only 14.5 on these, so it's really, really soft rubber, but it does do pretty well. I mean, the belt sander did take off a decent amount. I mean, it didn't get down like the GT Cut 3 did, where that actually did lose a gram, and it got all the way down to the nub. This didn't get all the way down there, but in some parts it got pretty close. So not as durable as the All City 14s, but I mean, decent for a shoe that has this, flat, the tread depth isn't too high, which increases ground feel and things like that. So I would say on a grittier outdoor court, they're probably gonna start to wear down a little bit. On indoor courts though, you should be just fine. All right, getting into the fit of the 11s, I was a little bit concerned because the inflare of these got back up to 14 degrees, and I'm thinking, is this gonna be the KT9? But that was the only thing that was kind of more on the unforgiving side. They come in at a length 28.9 centimeters, so just a hair long. 4-foot height, 5.3 centimeters. That's actually the tallest 4-foot I've had. That's the most room you've got in a 4-foot so far. That's nice. Heel width comes in at 7.9 centimeters, so pretty decent there. 9.8 centimeters, or 9.9 centimeters of metatarsal width. Then only 9.7 of toe box width. You are losing 2 millimeters there. And then the taper of 37 degrees. So not terrible, but not the most mellow we've seen. These in the 10s were pretty similar, way better, way more forgiving than the 9s. So I would say narrow, medium foot. You just go true to size in these. If you are really narrow, want a little bit of weight reduction, there is enough room in there. You can go down a half size in terms of the length on these things, but I think true to size is just fine, especially if you want to fit an orthotic in there. A 2E, I think just go true to size unless you have a very high volume toe box, or you got a prominent styloid, things like that back there. The stiffness back there might preclude you. There is no issue with heel slippage on these. So if you are a 2E and just want the room, don't want to feel like breaking them in, then just go up a half size. I think it's fine. A 4E, I think go up 1/2 size in these things. It's not a big deal to do that. So if you just want more room, just go up the half size on these. If there is no option for half size, you can go up a size on them and they'll still lock down okay. I think that is just fine. In terms of the snake bitten foot, things I'm recommending these for, in terms of flat, neutral, and high, yeah, they're just fine for those. In terms of ankle sprainers, okay, they are okay. They are not as good as the KT10. Now, the flange on them, it's just an outcrop. Like it's just a bulking, is that a word? It's just a bulkier part of the forefoot. It does swoop in here in the midfoot. The rear foot is really stable and it is wide enough. It's just that I could feel movement up there versus in the KT10, where because it had the bar that connected the rear foot and the forefoot, it was just better. I don't think they're bad for ankle sprainers, but they're not the world beaters that the 10s are. So if you're an ankle sprainer, want a shoe, go back, get the 10s. They'll probably be on discount. Discount code. There you go. Plantar fasciitis, yeah, I think they're fine. Achilles tendonitis, yeah, they're fine. Forefoot pain, yeah, they're fine. Arch pain, yeah, they're fine. They don't have too much resting 0, then 2, that's fine. Big toe joint arthritis, they are a little bit flexible. So I would say with an orthotic, I think they're okay. They're fine. The shank's long enough, but I think you do need an orthotic in them for a big toe issue just because of how flexible they are. I mean, you can see, look at the room you have for that orthotic in there. I mean, that kind of visualizes it a lot better than just doing the 4-foot height. There is a ton of room in there for orthotics. So yeah, I mean, with an orthotic, I think you should be okay. And even back pain, yeah, remember, these do transmit some shock up there. I mean, they have shock absorption. There is a lot of bounce in these things in terms of the ball bearing. Remember, the ball bearing is not nearly what a human being weighs, and so it's not 1-to-1. There is enough shock absorption in these things, especially when you do like the tensiometer and things like that. So I would say that they're fine. An orthotic is going to do wonders for these. The one thing I did notice, and where is it, is the insole in these things is so thick. Look at that thing. I mean, that is crazy. So they're gonna have a different feel if you use the insole or if you use an orthotic or something else. They might feel a lot different to you. So make sure you take that into consideration. All in all, I would say uppers, I like as much as the 10s. Everything else though, I do like the 10s a little bit more. The outsole on these might be a little bit more durable, but it's kind of, to me, it's kind of equivocal, and the dust pickup and things like that are kind of equivocal. So I would say, to me, the 10 is still overall the better shoe. The 11s are fine. They're better than, you know, some previous clays for sure, and they're not bad by any means. They're still a decent shoe. But I would say, and if you're comparing the two, because I know everyone's going to want which one's better, there is no best shoe. There's just the best one for you. In my opinion, though, in terms of build quality, what they're best for in terms of everything, especially with the ankle sprainers, I would say the 10. So in terms of like the foot doctor perspective, it's the 10. In terms of just like overall build quality and everything, I think that they're pretty equivocal. So really what you want, you know, do you want the little bit more flexibility? Do you want a little more forgiveness out of these versus do you want a little bit more of the armored tank of the 10s? That is going to be totally up to you. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, which one you're actually going for, if you actually like this update or not. Let me know down below. And make sure you check out Xenon Zen Slide, the one I had a part in designing, down in the description below. Make sure you check out Shoe Customization ebook in the description below. I have a discount code there as well. Make sure if you're going to check these out, check out my discount code down below as well. And if you want to check out the Way of Wade All City 14 that just dropped, make sure you click into this video right here and subscribe down below. I'll see you in the next video.